During that various kind of research that I've been doing the recent times, I wanted to bring a leader who actually made a lot of impact. Today I have Jas Athwal with us. And Jas had incredible political journey so far. Started as a councillor, then become head of the council, went on to becoming MP.
When I became a councillor back in 2010, it was clear that the Labour group in Redbridge needed reforming. When you go into politics, you've got to be true to your convictions. You've got to deliver what you promised. Mark came to me first and said, "Can you join us? I want you to stand as a Tory councillor next time." And I said, "Mark, we're friends, but that's not my politics. I'm sorry." And he goes, "Yeah, but you'll win." I said, "No, that's not my politics." And he went and told Councillor Parkesh, and Councillor Parkesh, anybody knows, never takes no for an answer. And he basically, until I became a candidate with him in Mayfield, and then we won Mayfield, and we never looked back.
Hello viewers, welcome to Candid Conversations with Ganesh Kuppala. You've been listening to me, speaking to various leaders across the globe. In this conversations, we go beyond the headlines. We talk about the details, we get into the information that is needed for you. During that various kind of research that I've been doing the recent times, I wanted to bring a leader who actually made a lot of impact and who actually done tremendous amount of journey from the beginning till now. So today I have Jas Athwal with us. Thank you so much for Jas coming over to the studio, and it's a pleasure to have you here. And Jas had incredible political journey so far. Started as a councillor, then become head of the council, and then went on to becoming MP. And this is your first time as an MP, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Welcome to the studio, Jas. As I mentioned, we would love to hear about your beginnings, how you started, what made you to get into the politics.
No, thank you, first of all, for having me here on your show. Certainly, I think I've seen a few of them. Tremendous success, so hopefully we can do it justice today.
Yeah, sure.
It's been a long journey. I had no idea I was ever going to get into politics, but when I did, people who know me, once I get into something, I will get into it wholeheartedly. And when I became a councillor back in 2010, it was clear that the Labour group in Redbridge needed reforming. And we went about that job. I was lucky. I had some really good councillors around me, very experienced. I was new. And with the guidance of people like Councillor Parkesh, Councillor Dev Sharma, who really sort of guided me. And they guided not just me, but another youngster who burst onto the scene at the time, a guy by the name of Wes Streeting, who just happens to be our health secretary.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And we started that journey very early on in 2011. And remember sort of going into the 2014 elections. And that was the first time that Labour had ever won in Redbridge. And having won that election, then it was about, winning, having won the trust of the residents, it was really then delivering. And we were always about delivery. And that delivery has taken us from our first victory of 35 councillors to winning 58 at the last election in 2022. And it's been a tremendous journey and certainly a learning experience for me.
That's an amazing journey. So you said like 58. Was it like last time when you left the seat as a leader of the council?
Yeah, there were 58 Labour councillors
Okay.
and 5 Conservatives. And I think what it is, Ganesh, is that when you go into politics, you've got to be true to your convictions. You've got to deliver what you promised in opposition. And we certainly stuck to that. Whenever officers said that can't be done, and it was like, well, we promised this in opposition, and you had the opportunity to stop us then. You didn't. We will deliver it.
Yeah.
They said it could. We couldn't build a leisure complex. We built one. They said you couldn't keep all your libraries open. we kept them open.
Yeah.
They said you couldn't have free half-hour parking. We turned it into free 1 hour parking. So anywhere, only borough in London,
Yeah.
you can park or you park your car at a parking meter. The first hour is free, only in Redbridge. And we,
Brilliant.
and I know people will touch upon it later on fly tipping, but Redbridge still has free 1 hour parking.
Brilliant. But yeah, before we get into the details, Jas, I just want to, because my audience would love to understand your journey, because a lot of diaspora or the people in the different sections of the community want to become politicians or want to become leaders. For you, it's not an easy journey, right? You didn't come from privileged background as such. You started from the crux of it, like core as a councillor. So how was this journey? I mean, where were you before? What were you doing? What made you to get into the politics actually?
It's a long story. And like I said, I never wanted to get into politics. It wasn't on the horizon.
Yeah.
One thing I did always do was care about the local area.
Mhm.
And I'd often go complaining to my local councillor, Councillor Parkash, and another guy. He was a Conservative councillor. He was my local councillor. His name was Mark Aaron. I actually went to school with him. He was 1 year older than me. So I remember him from school. And the weird thing was, Mark came to me first and said, "Can you join us? I want you to stand as a Tory councillor next time."
Mhm.
And I said, "Mark, we're friends, but that's not my politics. I'm sorry." And he goes, "Yeah, but you'll win." I said, "No, that's not my politics." And he went and told Councillor Parkash, and Councillor Parkash, anybody knows, never takes no for an answer. And he basically, until I became a candidate with him in Mayfield, and then we won Mayfield, and we never looked back.
Wow, amazing. So while you were in Ilford, I mean Redbridge as a councillor, do you remember any one of those stories which actually made you think that my impact should be much bigger? What made you to actually run for the MP when you are a leader already?
I think we one thing you find as leader
Mhm.
is that you work within an envelope. You can't work beyond it. It's like being, there's a certain amount of money, there's a certain amount of things you can do. And we had done almost everything. We'd filled that box up. And what it was then, the next step was to really, how can you expand that
Yeah.
for Redbridge and for Ilford South? And I look upon it because I've lived in that in the same area, whether it's Goodmayes, Seven Kings, for the last 55 years of my life, and that's a long time to stay in one area. And, I know all nook and cranny. I went to the infant school, the junior school, the secondary school. My kids went to school
All your life here.
all my life here.
Yeah.
My wife went to school here in which is Ilford South.
Yeah. Proud Ilford family.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So one thing I want to touch upon, Jas, I mean, you're free to let it go or you can explain me. But this is not the first time you attempted to be MP. You attempted to be MP in 2019 as well. What happened? Why? I mean, is it okay to share?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've got no hang-ups now. Politics is a very it's a vile, dirty game, and people will go to all lengths to try and stop you. And quite honestly, I remember it like it was yesterday. 1 minute we're gonna, it was a case of me turning up the next day and winning.
Yeah.
And then suddenly a meeting was convened without my knowledge, and next day I was suspended not only from
Candid.
standing,
Yeah.
but I was suspended from the Labour Party.
Wow.
And a testament to the people around me who had faith in me, that I was suspended as a Labour councillor for 1 year, and I still remained council leader. And neither did the Conservative group do a vote of no confidence, and everybody knew it was something that had basically, it was a stitch up, and everybody said, "Well, Jas, go and clear your name." And a year later, 344 days later, I cleared my name, and the committee that was there, they found no wrongdoings on my part, and I'm really proud to have gone through and come out the other side. It was very easy to walk away at that time,
Yeah.
but walking away leaves a little stain on your character. And what I wanted to do was make sure that that was eradicated forever.
Well done, Jas, with that. But to be honest, I want to understand. You're a family man. You have wife and kids and all that stuff. Did they actually, during the whole situation that you just explained, how was it at home?
It's very tough. I mean, but one thing is love of a good family.
Mm.
People stand by you. I remember standing in my house and everybody to a person said, you are going to fight this and you're going to clear your name. And when you have that kind of support, you never take a step backwards. And I knew what I wanted to do there. But then there were lots of good people around me in the Labour Party, in the Labour group, who believed in me, helped me every step of the way. And I think that's where you look at the camaraderie, the teamwork, and then you suddenly realize that you're not on your own. You're with a group of people, very special people who will be there with you in the dark days. And I'm really privileged to have those in my life.
Brilliant. So you have seen all the downtime, the tough moments and all. Then you went on to fight for the elections in recent time, 2024. Then you made it. And how was it like the first day when you hit the Westminster? You entered the parliament. Do you remember? Was it surreal?
It is surreal because it's like every day I walk into Westminster, it's a privilege. And it's a privilege. And one thing that one must never forget, it's a very humbling experience because some of the greatest laws that have ever been made, the biggest decisions are made in that space. And you you sit there and you feel, people have sat on these benches and made the laws, the decisions for the good of the people. And I think it's really important that you respect that privilege and then you work hard. And of course, going there every single day that you do, it's a wonderful place to go. And I'm always looking forward to it.
Amazing, amazing. They call it as Mother of Parliaments.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
It
so
is.
it indeed.
History in that place is unreal.
Unreal. Yeah, so true. I had an opportunity to visit Parliament a few times, and every time you get there, it's different, right?
Yeah.
Now, getting on to your particular constituency, Ilford South, it's an amazing constituency because I live here. I live in the same area, and the kind of diversity that you find in Ilford South. And I mean, I was speaking to Leader Cambrai recently, and we had a discussion about like there were 200 dialects spoken in Redbridge. That's like whole world.
Absolutely.
So, what do you feel about Ilford? I mean, how proud are you about your constituency in general?
Well, like I said, I've lived in England for 55 years, and I've lived in Seven Kings and Goodmayes for 55 years. And in that time, it's been an amazing journey. I've seen so much change. And sometimes, when you go into Ilford, I can think back to the times where certain stores used to be. But the world is a changing place, changing in the sense that we have shopping on Amazon. So therefore, Ilford has changed.
Yeah.
But it's changed. The smaller businesses have really sort of taken over, whether it's Ilford Lane with its absolute multicultural roots, whether it's the small shopping parades around Ilford South, or whether it's my local shopping parade where, most Fridays I'll frequent, places like Barotta Junction, Chaiwala in Ilford Lane. These are places where, I will hold surgeries, I'll meet people, and people can see me.
Yeah.
Because I'm a local person, very approachable. And I think Ilford gives me that sort of that awareness to be there. So I'm certainly making full use of that.
Yeah, brilliant. So, I mean, is there any specific memories that reminds you, like, things would have changed significantly in 55 years? So, how was Ilford like 40 years back?
Well, I can tell you, coming here, plucked from a village in Punjab, and coming here first day not knowing the language, never having seen people of a different color to me, and suddenly seeing them for the first time. I still keep in touch with some of my colleagues who I went to school with. There was only 6 or 7 of us who were of a different ethnicity than to the people in school. However, that bonding that we formed has been there, and I think some of the memories of the way technology's changed everything. Saturdays was spent in the park playing football from 10 o'clock in the morning till the park closed. And those memories of whether it's in Goodmays Park or South Park or the extension in now known as the Orchard Playing Field, those are the places where I would spend most of my time.
Brilliant, brilliant. And Valentine's Park is
Absolutely.
the biggest, one of the biggest parks in the country. And I was speaking to, I'm part of the cricket communities as well. Nasser Hussain, England cricketer,
Yeah.
the captain of England cricket, hailed from Valentine's. It's an amazing thing. So the great stories about Ilford.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Amazing.
I know that when I'm playing for my school,
Yeah.
I played against Nasser Hussain as a school.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. You
So-
feel proud about it. Yeah. So while it's an amazing lot of positive stuff, but I do want to touch upon few things as an MP, Jas, that you when you hear about all these stories of safety, you see social media, people talk about London being not safe at all. Are there problems? There are problems. Do I feel the same? I do feel the same at times. And especially when I hear this stuff about like knife crime or various things, right? I mean, so what's your view on overall safety as an issue? Like, when we go onto the doors, when we talk to people, there are three things coming up very clearly, Jess. One is the top like layer is the safety. Number two is how are we making sure that our community is growing along with whatever. And then third one is like, you rightly mentioned small businesses and all that stuff. So how are we going to help that? So let's start with the safety as a parameter. What's your view on the safety for Ilford South and London as a whole?
I think, first of all, let me say that with social media, stories, especially bad stories, spread much, much faster,
Yeah.
than good stories.
Yeah.
Because good stories don't sell newspapers, good stories are not good clickbait, and bad stories, whether it's a viral video of a person stealing a phone or
Yeah.
something like that, is very in the foreground. So with the advent of social media, it's meant that we face that as an extra item.
Mm-hmm.
As somebody who's lived in the area, and I think people who generally live in here, I think the bigger than knife crime even is car,
Mm.
and that's a huge problem because the thieves, the burglars, they know that they can get onto your driveway and then away they go. But as a general sort of rule, I think politicians have a role to play in this as well.
Mm.
Sometimes politicians will play, I mean, I can see it at the moment, whether it's the Conservatives or Reform, London is unsafe. They will say that London has gone backwards. But when you look at it, Londoners, and it's only just come out today,
Mhm.
that there is a YouGov poll of how Londoners feel about themselves.
Mm.
63% of Londoners today feel that they think London is safe. That's a very good statistic.
And that needs to be repeated here, Jas, because that's not how you feel
No.
when you look at it. So you're saying 63% voted, we feel safe in London.
That's right, 63.
Wow.
That's against 10 years ago. 12 years ago, 2014, when it was 53. So when people talk about the good old days, sometimes the good old days aren't as great as people make it out to be because with time, memories fade. And the report's only been out today that 63% of the people feel safe. And in their own localities, it's up to 81% of the people feel safe in their own areas.
Wow.
Now, that's not to say that we can now sort of rest on our laurels. What we say is there's more to do. And I think as a government, what we have promised is that there will be more neighborhood police officers and in the region of about 8,000 more. And each ward in Ilford South will have its own dedicated police officers. And that's what we're building towards. I think what people want to see is not just police officers solving crime. What they want to see is they want to see police officers preventing crime.
Yeah.
And that comes with more visibility and people feeling safer because the fear of crime is much, much higher than the actual crime itself. Because
Mm.
if people don't feel safe, and what a police officer does is makes you feel safe. And certainly that's where we want to get to, make sure we have the right type of police officers and having the adequate number, so that people who are perhaps going to work or coming from work late at night, they can see some sort of security on the streets, which we haven't seen for very, very long.
Mm. And what's your view on when people talk about, like, cost of living, or economy now is not doing well, all that stuff is leading to crime and all. That's how you see the news channels or social media talking about a lot of that stuff. What's your view on that? Like, how is the country, or especially London, doing in that parameters?
Yeah, I mean, the cost of living is definitely an issue, because
Mm.
we've had inflation, which was at 11%, and now, okay, it's come down.
Mm.
But that doesn't mean those prices went down, because if something was £100 back 2 years ago, and then inflation was at 11% for about a year and a half, and then it was gradually coming down. But it does mean that the prices now are about 20% higher than they were 2 years ago.
Mm.
Have people's income gone up by 20%?
No.
It hasn't. So the cost of living, as much as we say that inflation has come down, the prices never come down. Inflation raised them to a certain level. It just means that the prices are now going up at a slower level than
Yeah.
it was before. And I think what that does is that has a positive sort of impact on people's thoughts about crime, about how they're going to heat up their house, maybe wear extra layers. But this is where I'm really proud of the government, because the thing that we voted on in terms of raising the two-child
Mm.
limit,
Mm.
the cap, and I think there's 450,000 children that's going to be lifted out of poverty. I know, whether it's been the Mayor of London and now the government, we got free breakfast clubs, we got
Mm.
lunch clubs. We've expanded that, and I'm really proud of that my local council, that they've managed to preserve the youth centres, so that the children have somewhere to go in
Mm.
the evenings. And I think when you put all those things together, it does help with the cost of living, and it does help. And what we have to do is somehow get hold of some of the big businesses and really
Yeah.
appreciate that as well, because there are some large multinational companies like I'm not going to mention their names. I nearly did. But they've raised their prices in areas somewhere, or some of the poorest areas, and
Mm.
that shouldn't be. It should be the
Shouldn't.
opposite.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree. And one more thing I wanted to touch upon, especially in this area, is like talking about Ilford. Ilford is such a vibrant community, as I mentioned. Like, you have diverse population. You have, like, do you have stats in that case? Just like, how many community, like, different countries live here?
I mean, I think those stats are. It's not going to be correct now, because it's ever changing. But
Yeah.
one thing I'll say is that it adds to the diversity, adds to the richness of the culture we live in.
Mm.
And some of the things that I've experienced in my lifetime here, I think I feel sorry for some of the people living in different areas. For instance, we've had. I could go to an iftar. We had an iftar in a synagogue.
Yeah.
You go to the Chariot Festival in Leigh Street.
True.
You can go to light a candle, the menorah lighting in Barkingside,
Yeah.
in Gansill, and certainly I could go to my local gurdwara, the local mandir, lighting candles. It's a very rich, diverse culture,
Brilliant.
and all the communities come together. And I think faith has a massive part to play in this, and having the communities. And I think putting communities together has been, some of the best things I've had the opportunity to experience.
Yeah.
Especially, in Leicester when the problems happened.
Yeah.
I remember sort of having the masjid, the mandir, and the church on Albert Road, all of them together. saying we are united, we won't be divided.
Yeah. I mean, you brought a very good topic here, Jas. Now the country overall, like, there is the biggest topic of item discussion is migration, Islamophobia to some extent, like the mainstream politics, which is not the UK that we wanted to look at. It's unfortunately talking about a lot of this stuff. How do you think community cohesion or a community, should be the top priority? What's the Labour's counter to all this, sectorial politics that are being happening right now? And what's your view? If you can take a little more detailed view on that, it'll be helpful.
Absolutely. I think the polarized views on immigration, the fact that I think someone like Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who made the comment of parts of the UK being colonized, I mean, taking something by force, well, we'd be so much poorer with our NHS. We'd be so much poorer on our high streets. We'd be so much poorer in all our schools. And when you look around, the impact that's been made would be so much poorer, because 2.5 million troops from around the world, whether it was the Asian subcontinent, whether it was from Canada, Australia, the Caribbean, or whether it was from Africa, people came together at the time of need when World War I and World War II took place. And I think now, when you look at it, I think the politicians have the biggest problem, because they have stoked the fires of division. If I give you an example, in 2022, there was something like between 6,000 and 40,000 care worker visas that was that was in 2022. And the government of the day made something like 931 visas were issued. It's almost 1 million visas. Okay. And then
931,000, you mean?
931,000 visas.
Yeah. And these are the people who are talking about immigration now.
I was going to say, I want your audience to guess who the Home Secretary at the time was and who the Immigration Minister was. And I'll tell you, it's shocking, because the Home Secretary was the lady who's joined Reform, saying immigration is out of control. The Immigration Minister was Robert Jenrick. He's now gone over to Reform, saying that the immigrants are taking all the benefits. And when Sir Jim Ratcliffe made the claim yesterday about 9 million immigrants, 9 million people not working, the way he approached that point was, it's almost as if it's the immigrants who are basically getting all the benefits. Well, 16% of the UK population, which is roughly 11 million people, and you know that they're all working in places like the NHS, like the police, like in schools, like in businesses, and they're everywhere. And to actually label and tar people just because of their color and thinking that people have come here for a freebie is so wrong. And I can tell you that the problems were created by politicians like Braverman and Jenrick, and now they go off and point fingers. Look at what Labour are doing. And actually, Labour inherited the mess that they created. When I was leader of the council, we were not told when hotels were accosted. They were taken over by the Home Office then, and we were finding out as a council 2-3 weeks afterwards. They were outbidding us for our temporary accommodation, taking the hotel, and then I had to send officers to those hotels to actually look at the safeguarding of children, women, education, health needs. And all people like Jenrick were doing was just putting people, herding them like cattle, into hotel rooms, and then saying, we will get more hotels. They put up about 400 hotels in very quick succession. And now he's saying, look at all the hotels. So it's politicians, they've created the problem, reform, Jenrick and Braverman. They were in charge at the time. They can't deny that. And the Office of National Statistics backed this up. And now they're going away and saying that suddenly we can solve the problem. They are the ones who created the problem. They have no solutions. All they have is politics of division. And what Labour are doing now is actually facing that problem. And we have to face it. And there are decisions which we have to get right as well.
And how are you countering it? Like, what is Labour's view on the migration? Is it divided, or is it uniform? I mean, entire Labour thinks certain way now, or
Well, I think it's definitely not unified, because I think there are differences. And what you do in any party, like a family, is you have a discussion, you come to the right decision. You're never going to get there right at the start. The indefinite leave to remain, I've got residents who've written to me, and I've got a young lad who's on a.
By the way, thank you for your speech. It is a very popular one in the South Asian community and a lot of other communities, because the way you stood up and talked about indefinite ILR is amazing. And
ILR route retrospectively for those already on that pathway breaks that principle and is wrong. Since the white paper, I have heard countless constituents asking for just one thing: do not change the rules for those who have already complied with them. This was the framework they relied on when they uprooted their lives.
No, thank you. And I think there'll be more to come, because I think there's more work to be done. But the indefinite leave to remain, there are people who are already on that journey. And I think I'm a firm believer that if you've got a contract, which is what we've got at the moment, and that contract has to be honoured, because people have come here in good faith. And a lot of my constituents are saying, look, we are here because we're skilled workers. So therefore, we're not actually on the welfare system. We're not actually claiming anything. We can't claim anything because the whole point is we're skilled workers.
Correct.
And what they're even saying to me is, take away the right to give us welfare if we need it, because we don't want it. What they're saying is that they've made life choices, and those life choices have to be adhered to, because what they're doing is they're adding so much to what is needed here. And if they up and left, then we'll be in much, much bigger problems. So I will certainly be standing for my constituents to make sure that we get this indefinite leave to remain correct, because by making it harder for maybe the future generation, but that is dependent on need. It's supply and demand. If we need people, we'll call them. But those who are on the journey, let's get that right. Let's not change the goals mid-game, because these people started, they came here, and we got to make sure that we give them certainty in the way forward.
Indeed, because these are all contributors in a large way.
Oh, absolutely. Contributors to the tune of 26 billion pounds. That is what the 11% or 16%, the 11 million are contributing. If somebody says, oh, they're taking this much in welfare, what they're not saying is that there's 26 billion pounds and that they're also contributing. People, this is where I think politicians have to be really challenged. So when they give one side of the story, what they're hiding is a much bigger contribution that the people who are skilled workers working in this country, their contribution is far greater than anybody who may have fallen on hard times. And if we have to change the rules, we have to change the rules. There has to be a debate on immigration, but you don't do that by suddenly with all the scaremongering and the kind of things that we're putting into the background. We have to get this right, because those human beings are here helping us. They're the ones who are basically running our hospitals. They're the ones who are running our businesses. They're the ones who are contributing. And they're the kind of people who will go elsewhere. And then we'll be looking for them, because politicians have a great way of sort of making something fix for the short term. But in the long term, we'll be calling them back because we haven't got the skill set here. Absolutely haven't got it.
So true. And do you? I mean, I remember you telling a story about child, and how the families are feeling about uncertainty. Like imagine there's a skilled worker who got in here along with that small child, and now with the kind of rules that they're bringing in, your dependent cannot get ILR. You can get ILR, but your dependent can. What's your view?
Well, no, I think the rule cannot be changed mid-game because
Yeah,
when people come here, they made life choices,
true.
and we. What kind of a society are we that we're saying we want you because you're a skilled worker, but you can't bring your spouse here.
Yeah.
But you can live here for 5 years without your spouse.
Yeah.
I'd like to challenge, some of these politicians who are saying these things, but them to go to a different country where their skill set is needed and they can't take their family with them. We need to show some respect and dignity for the people that are coming to work here. And some of those people are very, very skilled workers. And I know that people who come here, my father came here back in 65. And on the back of that, I came here. And I know my 4 children. And in a family of 6, the education that we've got, and in terms of having 11 degrees between the 6 of us, and people are going to tell me that we're going to turn that kind of thing down. It's wrong.
Not working out. Yeah, absolutely. So when you look at the national politics right now, yes, we talked about briefly on the polarization, all that stuff. How do you see, like I mean, Camry, leader of Redbridge, was on the same seat a few weeks back, and he mentioned, like if you have to look at last 14 years stories, like austerity was the game, and now within the last 2 years things are changing. How positive, how, like, what's your view of the politics in the last 18 months or 24 months, and then what's your view for the next 3 years? How is it looking,
Yeah.
UK as a whole? And then let's talk about Redbridge.
Yeah, it's been very tough in the last 14 years because if you think about it, in terms of some of the funding that the council used to get, every year the funding went. Every year you had to make. Every year, almost all councils without fail had to raise taxes by themselves, known as council tax.
Yeah.
And most councils did it, and some councils that perhaps were better off in the sense that they were central London, they've got lots more business rates, lots more income, they could get it by sometimes freezing council. And what happened there was that the councils across, the politicians who were running town halls managed to balance the books. And I was very proud that Redbridge was one of the most prudent councils in the country about 5-6 years ago. And I think last year or the year before, 2024, it was voted the most value for money council in London.
The most efficient council in London, correct?
In London,
right?
And the second.
And that's number one.
Number one.
Number one, yeah.
And the second most efficient council in the country.
In the country, which is amazing.
And I think, and when you compare the country, we're not comparing like for like because the needs of London are so much more. It's so much more expensive here. And being an outer London borough, you don't have the income of the inner London boroughs. So I think from that perspective, as a council, as councillors and as a party, I'm very proud of what we did. Now going forward, I think the big problem people see is that they think that suddenly a new party's come into power and then everything's going to change. It's not going to change that quickly. What you have to do is set the vision for the next 5, 10, 15 years. And then, I know it's a cliche, it takes a long time to turn the tanker around. It's a very big tanker. It's the whole country. And if it's been going in the wrong direction, and to steer it back into the right direction is going to be hard. It's going to be time consuming, and there's going to be challenges along the way. And I think those challenges are being met. And I think it wasn't just a saying, we're going to fix the foundations, but those foundations needed to be fixed because some of the decisions that were being made in the last couple of years of the Conservative rule were decisions which were just based on quicksand. They were never going to stand the test of time. Now going forward, slowly, actually, paying for things that you can actually afford is where the Labour Party is going. Now, it may not be popular, but it's going to take time before we see those results. We are seeing some results. I mean, there are things like the fact that we've invested so much more in the National Health Service, and the waiting lists are the lowest for 3 years now today. I think that figure came out either today or yesterday.
But Jas, you're saying all this, but I don't think it's going out loud and clear to the people.
No.
Where is the gap?
The gap, like I said, is the polarized views. The gap is in people talking about...
Because great stories that you mentioned, I'm really sorry to cut you there, but the great story you mentioned, 63% of the London people are happy and they feel safe. That is not coming out.
No.
And Redbridge is the most efficient borough in London, or second most efficient in the whole UK. I don't know how many people know it. Or, other things like, even when I was speaking to Cam also, I was surprised that, crime has actually reduced, not increased.
Yes.
But everyone talks about crime as being increased and all that.
Absolutely.
Is it a failure of the people in the system not able to communicate the same to the residents of the country?
No, I think this is the social media impact.
Okay.
Because the problem is that the bad news travels
Fast.
fast, is halfway around the world before the truth's even got the chance to
Yeah.
put its pants on. And what we're seeing is sometimes knocking on doors. I enjoy that so much more than listening to the same old social media, because the residents actually tell you the truth. And when people are sort of saying they're happy, I sent, I've only just received it, I sent you a report on a message to you where the people in Redbridge, they were polled for their opinions. And I think 81% of them,
Wow.
feeling that they're very happy with the way Redbridge is doing, the way their council is performing. And I think that's really important, because these are people who live here, who have vested interest in here. They're not from people from halfway around the world who are influencing social media. They're people who got real problems, but have invested in our local area, whether it's Ilford South, Ilford North. They are people who want the truth, and they are the people who want the services and need the help and support that we can give.
Absolutely. And thanks so much for bringing all these details. I want to repeat this, guys. Do make a note of it. And if you haven't seen, please do go onto the internet and watch out what's happening. Redbridge, as Jas rightly mentioned right now, 81% of the people feels happy about the council, which is a great statistics. But yeah, let's go about, I've been living here for some time now, Jas, but what I've noticed in the recent times, I'm going more local right now, that, there are new parties coming up and they are making their way. And there's more, I'm just trying to be more politically right here. They're divisive. They're not secular.
Absolutely, yeah.
So how do you want to kind of give a message to the residents that not to trap for all that stuff?
Yeah, I think if you look at the Labour group in Redbridge, it is a United Nations of all the communities that live in the borough.
Yeah.
Whether it's Jewish communities, whether it's Muslim communities, whether it's Bangladeshi Muslim, Indian Muslim, Pakistani Muslim, whether it's Sikh, Hindu, Christians, Tamils, it is a United Nations, and that is a representation of the communities of Redbridge. And the polarized views being given by some of the fringe elements, whether it's the right wing or the extreme left wing, I think that sectarian politics of vote for us because we're of one particular faith is so wrong, because in a secular society, we should be all inclusive, and we should be looking at, I think Martin Luther King once said, the content of our character rather than the color of our skin or whatever faith we belong to. We are here as one community, the Redbridge community, the Ilford South community. And I think falling for some of these sectarian politics is very dangerous and very divisive. and certainly, especially with the rise of the far right. As somebody, I saw this on social media when somebody was saying, commenting on divisive politics in the Asian community, and the guy just responded. It stuck to me, and he said, "They're not going to look at your faith. They're going to look at your color when that brick comes through your window," and that is just so true. And we are living in a wonderful country. I think the United Kingdom, the fact that it's embraced all cultures with open arms, is a fantastic place to be. And I certainly take pride in singing the national anthem, supporting the England football team, and even the cricket team.
Yeah.
And I think this country's given me so much. It's given my family, my children so much, and it's given families of so many people I see across Ilford South. And I know vast majority of them are so grateful to a wonderful nation. And what we want to do is really have input into that country. And this is our country, and we're here to contribute.
That's a very good statement to make, Jas. But one quick question on that. How this geopolitical situations, right? The global conflict. Why are they becoming local? I mean, how is this global conflict has taken over on discussion items and making it front page every day, not on the newspapers, but in their lives?
Yeah.
Why is that coming? I mean, you are going and talking about your local elections, Redbridge. Why is a global conflict becoming a discussion item? And what's your view on that?
I think this is, again, people trying to take advantage of people's lack of awareness here, because what they'll do is they'll promise the world, they'll promise that they will get peace in Gaza, they'll promise that they'll get peace in Iran, they'll promise that suddenly India and Pakistan will get on really well because they can solve the world's problems. The answer is they can't, because a local council can pick up your bins on time. Local council and Redbridge Council picks up the bins every single week, whether it's your recycling or your general waste. They got free bulky waste collections. You know, you just have to ring them up. They'll pick up those mattresses. You don't have to drop them on the street corners. They have an app. If you see the potholes in the road, take a picture. You can install the app.
Love Clean Streets.
Love Clean Streets. Yeah. And all you do is you get it from the app store, install it on your phone. And I love the council because they'll repair the potholes within about 2 or 3 days. They'll be gone. When people sometimes complain to me, "Hey, Jas, that pothole's been there for like 3 weeks in front of my house." And the question I ask is, have you reported it?
Yeah.
No. We've got to take responsibility ourselves. This is our area. This is our environment. This is our home. If we can't take responsibility by simply clicking on the picture and then sending it to the council, don't expect anybody else to do it for us. And I think from that perspective, the local council does some amazing work. And it goes on. The thing about the free parking that I mentioned right at the start. The fact that you can go shopping at your local shops and still have, completely free is an amazing thing to do. The fact that we've got 2 youth centres which have been completely renovated, the fact that we've got 3 leisure centres. I get one of them's being closed because of RAC, but that's been, they're spending money on that to get that back open. The fact that our libraries are open. The council have done a fantastic job. And I think the rest of the country is recognising it, because I see, talking to other MPs, how they've had to go through austerity. They've closed their libraries. They've closed their leisure centres. They haven't got weekly bin collections. Redbridge Council has all of those because the Labour Council has put the residents first. And I think what we've got to do is challenge the misinformation that some of those sectarian politics that's coming in by some of the fringe parties. We've got to challenge them head on.
Just to add a few more statistics there, Jas. I think Redbridge is in number of lending books. Redbridge is the number one.
Number one in children's books.
In children's books, that's a very good stats too.
Absolutely.
Because your parks are doing really well. I mean, There are greenfield parks,
9 green flag parks.
9 green flag parks, and a couple of amazing world's best parks. In fact, actually, I would Valentine and Hainault are really great parks. So all that stuff, I think this is the information that local residents should be worried about than bringing the I mean, I appreciate their emotions. I appreciate the sentiments, but yeah, you rightly brought up, like, it's about local issues when you talk about Redbridge.
Local politics, council elections are about local issues, but I know that on global issues like Gaza,
Yeah.
I remember the Redbridge Labour Group
Mhm.
when the October the 7th happened. They made a statement.
Yeah.
It was wrong. And then when the fighting started, they were one of I think the first council to make a statement that there should be a ceasefire when ceasefire wasn't even being spoken of.
Mhm.
And since then, in terms of the violence that's happened there, I made sure that I called it out for what it was, whether it was genocide or ethnic cleansing. I've probably spoken more times on the Middle East because I know it's important to my residents, and making sure that I make representations to the Middle East minister or the various foreign secretaries we've had, and making sure that I meet up with the ambassador for the Palestinian Authority
Mm.
and Hossam Zomlot, and I make sure that I am there, because I think this is not only a full-time job, this is a 24/7 job.
Yeah.
And you have to be there representing, whether it's in the middle of the night, you've got to be ready to be able to answer the call from wherever it is.
Absolutely. So in that sense, again, like now talking about national and global politics, there in the recent latest developments, there were a lot of news in the last week or so about prime minister, whether he'll be there or, like, shaky. I mean, is it going to be a certain government and all that stuff? So how are things moving right now?
Yeah, I think the issue is that when people sort of start speculating, and the press is like, once they get their teeth into something, they want to have their pound of flesh. They want to see somebody go.
Yeah.
And I think the prime minister is a really decent man. He's a man of integrity. He's done, I think, on a global stage, he's done as much as anybody else. I think the two people that stand out in my mind on the global stage is our Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, and the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney.
Mm.
I think both of them done so well. And I think in terms of doing good for the country, the fact that we got the tariffs reduced with the US, the deal we did with the
India.
the deal we did with the EU,
Mm.
and now making sure that we go with China as well. Because if our biggest trading partner is going to be unreliable, we have to look elsewhere. We've got to make sure that the country is safe. And I think last Monday, I gave my unequivocal support to the Prime Minister, making sure that he stays there, because I think he's got us to a point where we've done a really good job of winning the election, and now what we've got to do is really good job of, he's got to be given the chance to turn the country around. And I do not want to go to that stage where the Tories were sort of every couple of weeks there's somebody else, whether it's a new foreign secretary, new home secretary, new prime minister, new chancellor, whatever it was. The country can't afford that. We need some consistency,
Stability.
and we need that stability.
Absolutely, 100%. And I agree with you on that, Jas. I think that makes it very comfortable for the residents as well, or also for the whole citizens of the country. It makes very comfortable. We have a stable government, so we can look up to a prime minister or leader who can do things for you. Now, you mentioned about a couple of trade deals, which is a great news. I mean, UK-India trade deal is one of the biggest news in the recent years, and I think that is comprehensive, very well done. Both the countries have tremendously. I mean, the Prime Minister of India came down here, Prime Minister of UK flown to Delhi. So it is looking very, very cordial. It's looking super progressive. So what's your view on UK-India? Because India is the fourth largest economy right now in the world, and UK is doing a lot of good stuff with India. So how do you see this relationship going forward? I mean, same with EU and all that stuff as well.
I think the tariffs, the lifting of the tariffs or reducing of the tariffs means that there's going to be more jobs being created. There's
Yeah.
going to be the prices are going to be reduced, and I think certainly from my perspective in Ilford South, there's a lot of things that we do with India that we really needed help with.
Yeah.
I think if businesses are struggling and prices are going to be lowered,
Yeah.
then that's always a good thing. And I think it also India is, the fourth largest economy in the world, the largest democracy in the world, and I think it's going to go from strength to strength. And
Yeah.
what we need to be doing is we need to be sitting with some of our strongest partners and making those partnerships much stronger than they have been in the past. And I think that the Prime Minister has shown that not only with India, because India is a friend,
Yeah.
but even with countries that have been perceived as not being our friends, like China, that he will go there and he will talk to them and basically making sure that we have a better outcome for our residents, because ultimately the trade deals at that level are great, but it's got to filter down to the
To the
economy
ground level. Yeah.
on the ground where our businesses are going to feel it. And certainly the business we do with India is going to feel it. And I think it's having those partnerships, not just business partnerships, also augurs well for our general world peace. And I think there's so much more we can do, whether it's India, whether it's Pakistan, or even helping with some of the democratic issues in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
And Britain has a role to play. And having partners in that part of the world is going to mean that we have a bigger say in that.
Absolutely. And now drilling down to the business, you rightly mentioned how it comes to the ground and all. So again, coming back to the local part of it, Redbridge business centers and Redbridge local business, because when you go down, you look at Ilford Lane, you look at town centers, you look at, there are a lot of small businesses. So how's like in Ilford South, being an MP of Ilford South, how are you supporting in general? How is the council supporting the local businesses?
Yeah. A couple of years ago, and it may still be the same, it may not be, but a couple of years ago, there was the Ilford was the biggest place, the place where the micro businesses started up, all the new startups. This was the place where it was all happening in London.
Yeah.
And we took that on, and I know the council's taken that further, that they've given a whole hub, enterprise hub, to start up, to create an incubation hub to help with the businesses, give them the advice, get them started, because the first 6 months is where businesses either going to fail or they're going to go on to bigger things. And if we can help them early on, and Redbridge Council are doing that by creating this enterprise hub at Green Victoria House, is by doing that, they're literally holding the hands of the businesses to say, look, if you want accounts advice, if you want sales advice, if you want IT advice, we're here for you. We want you to get over that initial threshold. Once you get over that, then that business is going to be established. And of course, that's going to mean more jobs and more money in the local economy, and therefore better for Ilford South, Redbridge as a whole.
Yeah. And one thing I want to mention about the Redbridge Business Center, like the one which is open in Victoria, right? That's also helping a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. And in general, because it's election time now, yes. So now that, as I mentioned, like, there are too many parties involved, surprisingly, in the local elections. So what's your view on that? And what is your elevator pitch? Like, whosoever is watching us now, why should they vote for Labour in Redbridge, particularly?
Oh, I think the stewardship over the last 14, 15 years has been that we've kept everything open, we've kept everything running. And everything that's happened has happened because there was a plan to ensure that our children get the best schools, they get the best education, they get the best libraries, they get the best youth centres, they get the best leisure centres. And our town centres are thriving. And having that here, I think let's not risk that, because if you risk that, there are other councils who have tried other parties and they've gone from being well-run councils to basically falling apart. Redbridge is nationwide recognized as being giving you the biggest bang for your buck. They are the most prudent council. They spend their money well, and they look after their residents on a weekly basis. There are so many things that are going on in Redbridge that we should be proud of. But as citizens, we also need to take our own advice and sometimes report some of the things that are going on. If you see a fly tip, report it on the app. If you see a pothole, report it on the app. The council do a wonderful job. They'll come along, they'll pick it up, they'll fill the pothole, they'll do what it needs to take. All we have to do is just send a picture, report it, and the council will do the rest. If anybody's going to tell you any different, I will debate with them every single day of the week, because I know Redbridge Council have done a wonderful job, and long may it continue.
Yeah. And in like, you've been knocking the doors for some time. How are you feeling right now? How comfortable are you that Redbridge will be a Labour space again?
I'm very confident in that, because I know I've always approached my politics: do the best you can, and the residents will always recognise that. And I think residents are seeing that, and it will hopefully be proved right. And if it doesn't, I know that the party, whoever wants to come in, will never do the job that this council has done for the last 15 years. And I'm really proud of what they've done. And there are so many things that I could talk about. I could literally have another hour just explaining everything that they've done.
Absolutely. Brilliant. So one last message for the people who are not voting, who are not coming out. And, if you look at the turnout, that's one of the biggest discussion item. So what is your, like, two pennies on that? Like, why should people come out?
Well, voting, first of all, people have died to try and get us the ability to be in a democracy, and to be able to vote. And if you don't come out to vote, then you don't really have a say. To complain from the touchline when you really didn't even bother to turn up to vote once in 4 years says a lot. And I think making sure that sometimes by staying away, just because you think, oh, they're going to win anyway, well, that may not happen. I think everybody needs to turn out to vote. Everybody, especially the Labour group, needs your vote. And I think if you have a vote, you must exercise that right, because that right means that you will have the party to govern Redbridge for the next 4 years of your choice rather than somebody else's choice. Don't leave it to chance. Come out, vote Labour.
Brilliant. One last word from your end about how UK future is looking. In one word.
It's one word.
Oh, difficult one. For a speaker, one word is a difficult one generally.
One word is difficult. Yeah, it's I think it's dynamic. It can go either way. It's dynamic at the moment, and what we have to do is get the message out.
Brilliant.
Make sure it goes our way.
Thank you so much, Jas. I think we touched a lot of great topics today, and thanks for all the insights. And as you rightly mentioned, there are a lot of good statistics. It's my appeal to all the audience, especially my listeners. Don't get too bombarded with negative messages. Please do watch out. Speak to people around you. Speak to MPs like Jas, Wes, who are available. I mean, Jas knocks the doors every week almost. So you can speak to them. And I know there are issues like, ILR. A lot of people spoke to me personally because I come from the diaspora community as well. So a lot of people come and say, like, what is happening on ILR? Please do speak to, people around you. Speak to the leaders, speak to Jas, speak to Wes, or any other people around you, especially on the leadership panels, and discuss about it. I think the dialogue should happen always. There should be, and you get a lot of emails from people on various things, right? I mean, there were discussions about student loans. You mentioned about that as well. And there was discussions about ILR. There were discussions about various other things. But yeah, keep doing that. Look out for the positive stuff. There are great stuff that Jas mentioned today. 81% of the Redbridge Council is doing really well. 63% of the Londoners feels London is a safe city. Don't worry about like social media. They're trying to do things which are not right. Okay. There are a lot of other great stats. So do follow that. And with that, I think that's the intent of this show as well, to bring the conversations from the leaders and bring it the reality to you. Thank you so much for watching and continuously supporting this show. And I'll see you again with the next leader. Thank you. Thank you, Jas.
Thank you.
Brilliant.